Deep Space Nine didn't just start a new chapter of Star Trek, it rewrote the rulebook. Emissary is bold, ambitious, and packed with enough wormhole weirdness to make your head spin. But does it hold up? Craig and I are diving deep into what's great, what's not so great, and what's completely batshit crazy about this legendary pilot episode. Buckle up because we're about to go where no Trek series has gone before.
Nope.
Yes, welcome back, Trek fans, to this Good, Bad, and Batshit, where it's one of our favourites, isn't it, Craig?
Oh, by far.
Excited for this for a while. It's fair to say. Deep Space Nine. Not Voyager. I'm not in a Voyager outfit. I'm in a Deep Space Nine outfit.
Have you
Before
got more
anybody writes
curves?
in,
It's
I
got more
got more.
curves.
Well, it's so yeah. Before anybody sort of goes in the comments, oh, Stu's wearing the wrong uniform. This was what they wore in. I mean, when we first see Cisco, he's in the next gen uniform.
In fact, most of all of the main cast who are Starfleet officers at some point in this episode do wear the normal uh, Starfleet uniform, not the DS9 Voyager kind of uniform that you've got on
Yes,
there.
yeah. But this is the uniform that they chose for the station. But it's the original series badge still. They hadn't updated the badge at this
Till
point.
Generations, isn't it? So that's like season 3 or so.
I think
Something
they
like that.
did.
4
Didn't they update the badge for Voyager?
Generations. Generations
Was
had
it
it first.
Generations?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. And we know that in Generations, Riker's wearing Cisco's
Yes, and it's all
uniform.
yeah. They're all borrowed, aren't they?
Yeah. But I
It's
think the
because, well, yeah, it's because, I mean, we're not covering Generations, but it's because they did have brand new uniforms designed and made for Generations
hmm,
that they didn't use because they didn't look that good on the screen. By which time the toys for Generations were already in production. So the toys for Generations have the new uniforms that they never used. So there you go.
that'll be something to, I mean, we like our collectibles, don't we? So that will be something
It's dangerous, once you go down that slippery slope, there's no coming back.
Oh yes, the divine treasury is a bottomless pit that requires a bottomless pit of money. Mm. Yeah. So yeah, so that's why I'm wearing this uniform. Is it's not for Voyager. That badge does keep slipping. That's annoying. So apologies if my badge is skewy during this. Um,
Just
yeah. Absolutely.
we'll just move the screen a little bit. Fix it in
Um,
post.
so I think a little bit of trivia about the episode before we go into your 60-second synopsis. Um, do you know we like our little bits of trivia, don't we? And we like our details.
Oh, it's such love it. Oh, too sad for one good.
This was the first time we had a new Star Trek series other than, I suppose, the animated series, which was a continuation of the original series. But this was the first one to debut with established characters.
Hmm. Yes. So you've
As
got
part of the
yeah,
main cast. I mean, McCoy
yeah,
from Next Generation, aside. Yeah, so you've got the cameo. It's not even a cameo. He's quite fundamental to it. Picard,
yeah.
in there, and of course Cole Meany, who we absolutely love.
And the most important person in Starfleet history, isn't he?
He really is. Here he is pictured with the great bird of the galaxy. Yeah,
Yeah.
we love our lower decks.
And it was the first series that wasn't cast by Gene Roddenberry.
Mm,
He
yes.
was aware of it. He wasn't involved at all in the creation of it because, I mean, they first had the initial talks about it in 91 before he passed. And so I think it was like rushed on his desk and then rushed off his desk again. So there's no real information about how much he knew about it and how much he either liked or disliked it.
Mm,
But it's the first time where he didn't have direct involvement in the casting or direct involvement in the creation of it.
yeah. Mm. And utterly groundbreaking as a
Oh,
series.
massively
So
groundbreaking.
many ways. So many ways. But something that I was doing my research for this for, and I wasn't aware of, is it was quite groundbreaking for the special effects.
I mean, the amount
Um,
of money they spent on the visual effects and how much the station design went through and the runabout design went through, and
mm,
just the amount of like artistic um work that went on this is astounding. You compare it to, yes, Farpoint, you had the new ship, you had the Q thing, you had Farpoint Station, and that was it. This was almost reimagining a whole world,
yes.
from Bajor to the card, to exploring the Cardassians properly, to the visual effects of the wormhole and the wormhole. It's massive.
It was the orbs of the prophets.
Mm,
That was one of the big ones
CGI and
because it
that, yeah.
used a combination of CGI, 3D modeling, which at the time was really exceptional,
If you work out, I
and
mean, it's only
physical
two.
models.
It's only 2 years after Terminator 2 for the visual
Mm,
effects of audio, with the morphing effect. So you're talking only
yeah,
2 years after that, and only was it 4 years after The Abyss where it actually started out doing the James Cameron developing that kind of software. So
yeah.
in 4 years from The Abyss through Terminator 2 to this, technological jumps and what they managed to do on a TV budget, amazing.
Well, that's it. We're talking about a TV series, not a major motion picture, like T2 and The Abyss. Yeah, absolutely incredible. Like I say, they did throw plenty of money at it, which shows their confidence in it. Um,
And they picked a good director because David Carson did a truly sterling job on this, so much so that he got to direct Generations
mm.
as well. And, he's a Brit. He knows his
the,
Star Trek. He does.
the British are coming. The British are coming. Um,
Don't
Redcoats.
think those,
There you
yeah,
go.
I don't think those chariots are on fire.
Right. Well, before we dive into our good, bad, and batshit picks, we need to know what happens in Emissary, do we not?
We do. So,
Oh.
yeah, he has a rubbish introduction to Emissary.
Well, if you're ready for your 60-second synopsis, your time starts now.
Our episode starts at the Battle of Wolf 359, where Lieutenant Commander at the time, Benjamin Sisko, is a first officer on the Saratoga, and the ship gets destroyed by the Borg. And he escapes with Jake, his son, but loses his wife Jennifer in the process. Jumping forward 3 years, after suffering the loss, a new Joint Federation Bajor crew was assigned to the former Cardassian space station, now called Deep Space Nine, previously Tarok No, as we'll find out later. Benjamin Sisko, the new station commander, is declared the emissary of the prophets by a Bajoran priest, Kaio Packer, and discovers a stable wormhole connecting Bajor to the Gamma Quadrant on the other side of the galaxy. Dot, dot, dot. We'll leave it from there. Don't want to give away too much stuff about Boom Bang Bang.
Fantastic. You came in under your 60 seconds because your
Oh,
60
come on. If you're
seconds
going to
was up.
start doing the
Yeah,
Proto Deep Space Emissary, you're going to be on forever because it's so intricate and weaved and it's
absolutely.
it's
That
not
that
it's
was
not basic.
That was a really good synopsis there. For 60 seconds. That was really, really good. I'm wondering if we ought to cut it down now from 60 seconds. We'll see. We'll have a think on that one. But yeah. Uh, so do you remember all the hate that it got at the time?
Yes. And I never understood it from the I never understood it from the moment that, the the whole, it doesn't go anywhere, it's boring. It's like it's what? It's so
Yeah.
rich. It's so rich as a I mean, yes, we're going to be talking about the pilot, but as a series, yes, they can say that there's a few clunky episodes in season one, but there was a hell of a sight less clunky episodes in season one of Deep Space Nine than there is in season one of Next Generation.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it grows and it builds and it builds. And season two is just, the first Star Trek three-parter in the start of season two. And you get into the politics, you get into the religion, and it's grown up, is what it is.
Yeah. Absolutely. And do you remember? I know we talked about the episode last week, but do you remember how much hate the Next Generation got when it came out?
Yes, massively. You can't replace Kirk and Spock.
Yeah, and do you remember how much hate Enterprise got? So I'm thinking like flash forward to Discovery, and it's why I can't
But the funny
take
thing is,
it too seriously.
I don't think Voyager had as much hate going into it as DS9 Next Generation had, or even Enterprise had. I think Voyager had a little bit of an easier start on it. I think there was more goodwill going at the start of Voyager than there has been in a lot of the other series.
There was a bit, but I also remember at the time it lost a lot of the misogynistic fans,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
great airlocks
Good.
that way.
But we've got all this lot to discuss, haven't we?
Anyway, we'll be talking about all that in other episodes, I have no doubt. So, what's your first? And bear in mind, we were only doing three good things.
Yeah, so what I'll do is before we go on to the three good things, I'll get my usual stuff out of the way. Production design we've already discussed is amazing. It just I mean the set of the promenade, everything like that. The visual effects are amazing. The cast is out of this world for an ensemble.
Mm.
They really are. So I will I will get I'll take that as read. The stuff that
Yes.
we'll go on. Um, I think for a pilot, this I've got to say one thing that really, really stands out is that it is similar to Encounter at Far Point, but they do the introduction of the characters in this 10 times better than they do in Far Point, and it's not as clunky as
Mm.
Far Point. Yes, you'll get all the character stuff, of Bashir going, oh, this is frontier medicine, and this is I'm out on the outpost, and you've got Kira just looking at him going, this is my home. So, and you've got stuff like that where it's just the director has done a really good job with the actors, the casting on it, amazing, and I just think as an introduction, it ticks so many boxes. Because if you think, Space the Final Frontier, right? These are the voyages of the Enterprise. Well, it's not, it's Deep Space Nine, right? So its mission, right, to seek out new life, tick. You've got um the wormhole aliens, you've got Ildo, you've got stuff you've never seen before. So there you go, straight away, new life forms, new civilizations, Bejo,
Yeah.
and obviously the wormhole aliens and stuff like that. And to boldly go, they go boldly in a direction that Trek's never done before. Because one thing that Star Trek has never really discussed properly is religion. But we can talk about that later.
Mm.
So
Mm.
it does fill the Star Trek ethos.
I mean, what would a god want with a starship anyway?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I think that's a cracking one to fire us off with. Um, so my first good is Ben Sisko himself. Um, he is utterly unique as a lead character for Star Trek, particularly at the time. Not just the fact that he's black or a single father, but his emotional depth, um, particularly his hatred towards Picard as
Oh,
well.
yeah, yes.
That sets up that's a really bold, this beloved character from the next generation that fans like absolutely adore, and you bring in your new lead character who hates him
For good reason.
with good reason, but that emotional complexity that he brings to the role, and of course Avery Brooks, like what you said about the casting, phenomenal actor. He is, well, yeah. That's the gold standard of acting right there. Yeah, so it's Cisco, the writing of Cisco, the performance of Cisco, everything about Cisco, right
Yeah,
from the start, straight out the gate, um, is incredible and
yeah,
carries the whole thing. Could
definitely.
carry the whole series, but doesn't have to because
Because, but with that, what I was saying, that links in what I was saying about the casting, though. This is truly a proper Star Trek ensemble cast. Would you say that any of these characters throughout the series were shortchanged?
no,
They didn't.
no.
None of them. Every single character in Deep Space Nine had their own arc, had their own um, direction, and it's that's the writing, that's the casting, that's the direction. It's just it hits all the beats.
Actually, I'm gonna backtrack slightly, and I'll because it has just occurred to me there is one character that I think, excuse me, there is one character that I think across the 7 seasons of Deep Space Nine is shortchanged a bit.
Mhm.
Keiko.
Yeah, but what I would say on that is she was shortchanged because the actress was quite busy as well. She
Yeah,
couldn't commit to that many episodes. So they had to find out, oh, there's Keiko's having to go and do something, or Keiko has to go away for X amount of months and things like that.
absolutely does that. But when she did have sort of center stage episodes, um,
I mean, especially when she became the teacher and on the right end up to the end of like season one with the stuff with the religion going against the
mm,
Starfleet's kind of non-secular. Yeah, that stuff's brilliant.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. And, tackling the whole sort of creationism versus evolution is very much what I got the vibe of from that. Um, yeah, I felt they could have done a lot more with her. Maybe not in terms of episode numbers, but in terms of character depth or
Yeah,
character evolution,
yeah.
character arc. Anyway, that's it.
Now,
What's your second good one?
my number two was Picard and Cisco scene, but also it's not just the Picard and Cisco, it's also Cisco and Gul Dukat
Hmm.
because Mark Almina as Gul Dukat is delicious.
Oh yeah.
Right from the outset, his meeting with Picard and with Picard with Cisco in what was, oh, this was my office until 2 weeks ago.
Mm.
The proper pissing contest between the two of them. you know and the thing is that character came out of the gate fully formed, and all the way through 7 seasons, the ebbs and flows of Ducat going from the monster to the almost redeemed semi, kind of not quite good guy, but somebody who's learning from his past
Hmm.
evils, to going out to the end being, mustache twirling bad guy at the end. And it's just such a journey for the character.
Oh,
And
totally.
the way that him and Cisco play off and him and the rest of the characters play off, Kira and Ducat's head to heads and stuff, even in the first episode where she's properly given him some just
Mm.
it's funny because you watch the pilot and seeing DS9 so many times, you just know so much stuff pays off later on. There's
Yeah.
very, very little that's set up to be forgotten. And it just, can we say how much we love this?
Absolutely. So which you pick? Is it Cisco and Picard? Cisco and
No,
Picard,
I'll go
or just
Cisco and
Cisco?
Ducat. You know Cisco and Ducat. You can keep your Cisco. I'll go Cisco and Ducat. Because Ducat,
That
that's
I
love
mean
them.
that dynamic. I mean, it's very much yin and yang. But I mean, yeah, yeah. we can wax lyrical about the whole thing. Um, so for me, my second one is the setting itself. Um, obviously, with Next Generation, you've got this sleek, idealistic, utopian Federation um, kind of aesthetic. But with Deep Space Nine, it's rough and ready. It's a politically unstable environment. It's been trashed basically. It's grimy. It's almost leaning into a sort of grimdark sort of vibe, uh, especially in comparison to what we've seen. The Enterprise D being sparkling clean and what have you. And this sort of sets the tone for the moral ambiguity I think that you have throughout the season and even in the first episode. That whole should the Federation be interfering with Bejor? It's a question.
Kira
Yeah,
asks the question herself.
yeah.
The Cardassians have been gone for 2 weeks. What's the first thing that happened? The government does is bring in the Federation.
Well, I mean, she doesn't just ask the question. She says, no, the Federation shouldn't be here.
Yeah,
So, yeah, in the same way you've got like Cisco, disliking Picard, you've got Kira disliking the Federation. Um, yeah, really, really, I think brave writing for Star Trek,
yeah.
and definitely sets its own unique tone and voice. Hmm. What's your third?
We get to see Wolf 359 for the first time in its reality.
Yeah,
And as part of it, this is the thing what was said just is the first part. The visual effects in this episode, in this series, are just absolutely outstanding. And to get to see a Federation fleet, it's before, obviously before first contact, before we see the second battle with the Borg. But this is where you get to see it for the first time, and it's visually stunning. And the thing that really gets me annoyed is that the fact that they have not made Deep Space Nine available in HD. They haven't done the work on it to get it to the quality that it deserves, because it would look absolutely the sets that it would look absolutely stunning in high definition. You can see on when they've done some of the stuff for what the documentary What We Leave Behind, where they actually got the elements and did the work and did the HD restoration on it. It looks absolutely beautiful, and it deserves it. It needs
it
it.
does. Boils down to money.
Yeah, but they make the amount of money that they make out of Star Trek through the streaming and through everything like that, they could
Yeah.
invest in it, and it would pay dividends. I know because they haven't got the sales now of Blu-ray and 4K compared to what they were 10 years ago. But I
Yeah.
understand that. But for to keep the see when they said this when they first remastered the original series and Next Generation, it was because TV was evolving, and everyone's got much bigger and better televisions as years go on and on and on. So to keep it relevant, to keep it wanting to be shown in different markets, they need to do it.
Mm.
So thank you very much,
Mm.
4K now. Thank you.
Okay, so for my third, you mentioned their dynamic earlier, but it's Gulder Cat is my pick for the third. For all the reasons you say, he's his brilliant, complex character. His character arcs because my God, how many character arcs did he have
Oh, yeah.
throughout the 7 seasons? Sometimes we like him, sometimes I mean, we always love to hate him, but there's some lovely moments with him. But it's his politeness. Like you say, he sort of barges into Cisco's office. She's like, "Oh, do forgive my impertinence. It's my office. Only if he's so suave and polite with it all. Absolutely brilliant. And yeah, Michael Amo, fantastic actor again.
And if you've seen the What You Leave Behind thing, he's very tongue in cheek about himself as well, isn't he? He likes picking himself up, but in quite an ironic way.
He can be quite self-deprecating.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, that's what we liked. Now for our painful moment. What didn't you like?
Well, this one is not a case of what I didn't like. It's what I perceive that people didn't like. I think the story of this was possibly a little bit too complicated, not very straightforward. It's not a very straightforward action adventure episode.
Mm.
Yes, it's got adventure episodes in it, but it's almost it's got almost a feel to it like not the tone so much, but it's hitting you with concepts a bit like Star Trek: The Motion Picture did, where it's hitting you with a complex life of the lead character, his complex feelings, the complexities of Bajor, complexities of the religion,
Mm.
complexities of discovering a new wormhole into the it is it's very heavy if you don't unless you really know what's going to be going on and you know what follows on. It's quite dense to come into because it's hitting you with so much information and so many new things. And it's not just a case of, oh, we must stop the bad guy from doing this, or it's not like a quest. It's a lot more to it.
Mm.
And to me, that gives it greater depth. But to some people, it just might be a bit too complicated.
Yes. So I've got something very, very similar as one of my bands. So for my band, I'll just sort of expand on that a little bit. It lacks a sense of urgency in places.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Pacing could be an issue,
Mm.
um, but
But you need all the time to introduce these characters, like you say. It's a really tricky line to walk. But it could have used a little bit more urgency in certain places, um, particularly around the politics of Bajor. I'm reminded a little bit of the Star Wars prequels.
yeah, the
The first one in
trade
particular.
route taxation and stuff.
Yeah, it's a bit. I mean, obviously, it's a different political issue, but that kind of like, oh yes, well, we're going to go to Amendment 37 of the bill of yeah, it could have had a bit more urgency. I totally agree. What's your second
Yeah.
one?
My second one has been ever since I first watched it, and I don't mean to be mean, but it's the character of Kaio Packer. She never worked. And I think also possibly the actress wise, being her only other famous role was in Friends as a nemesis in the laundry room. You can't escape that when you know where she's from. Um, but no, and it goes to show because I think they wrote the character out very quickly in season one because it didn't work that well. And you can tell she didn't have quite the gravitas that you needed to be somebody who was the spiritual leader of Bajor who got them through the occupation. She doesn't quite have that feeling to her. Um,
She's not
but
big enough in terms of presence.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Mm,
nothing against the actress in the slightest at all,
no.
because I think she was given something that would have been, you needed a certain caliber of actor to show that kind of reverence that everybody would have to them. Yet, it's equivalent of being, the equivalent of being the Pope kind of thing. You've got to have somebody who's got something. that, but it's also something that you don't know quite how to define. They've just got to have that presence.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I can definitely see that. For me, my second one, I'm sticking a little bit on pacing, but this time more specifically, um, I'm going to use another Star Wars analogy. In The Empire Strikes Back, when Luke goes into the forest, and like that whole dream sequence scene feels disjointed and weird, and it's like it just kills the pacing. Likewise, in Emissary, I think the wormhole scenes are just. I get they wanted to go for something bizarre and ethereal, but the pacing just changed in such a jarring way with those.
Yeah, yeah.
It sort of halted it a little bit, and I am diving a bit deep to try and get things bad about this, and I know I
Yeah.
am, but because it's not a major issue. Um,
But
but
my third actually links to yours. Your bad there. Mine is the old trope of using the cast as the aliens. Where you've got rather than depicting them in a different way, you've got the cast reading different lines, being the alien. And yes, I know it was part of them trying to understand humanity and trying to understand how time works and
mm,
stuff like that. But it's just an old trope because anytime somebody has any kind of dream sequency kind of thing in a lot of TV shows, they use the rest of the cast
yeah.
in it, and it's a trope that you've seen so many times
Do
that
you
it's just a
think it
bit
would have worked better if it had happened later in the season when we come to know and understand the characters better?
possibly yes, yes.
I'm thinking ahead to like there's the episode where Quark becomes a weapons dealer and
Oh
he
yeah,
has the dream with all the bridge crew, not the
yeah.
bridge crew, the command
The main cast, yeah, yeah.
crew. Yeah, and that for me worked, but because we know those characters, because we could see how out of character they were behaving and things like that. So yeah, but yeah, I can definitely see that. Um, my third bad actually comes onto the characters themselves. Some of the supporting characters feel a bit underdeveloped at the time. Specifically, Bashir and Jadzia jump out at me with this. Bashir's just, oh, he's a naive but talented doctor. Like, that was it. That was the brief, I think. Jadzia, mysterious and wise. There's nothing more you can say about
Yeah, I mean,
Jadzia.
to be fair, they did have two of the hardest jobs on the series,
Mm,
and poor Sid. I mean, he went through. Was it right up until like into season two, where so many of the executives wanted to get rid of him and replace him
mm,
because he was an unpopular character, and but you just can't imagine DS9 without him. I mean, he's brilliant. He really is. And yes, he comes, it, it's all it all works. And Terry Farrell, she was really nervous
mm.
coming into this. I mean, she was not saying she was an inexperienced actress, because she had been on, other shows and stuff before. But this was a
Not
hard
not
um
much, to be
character
fair.
to get around. And once she got it, especially, when especially into season two, when she started to play a bit more as a rogue, and she they let the shackles off. I mean, especially when you got the Klingon episode with Korkang and Koloth in, she absolutely shone. You could
Yeah,
see the renegade in her and everything like that. So yeah, there was a short shift to begin with, but by heck, they
yeah,
got there.
yeah, yeah. Well, they could have put a bit more effort into the characters for that. Anyway, that's that's ripped off the band-aid. At least we've
But
done
these are
that.
just niggles, really. They're really just niggles for something that's absolutely brilliant.
No, no argument here at all. Right, what was batshit crazy for you?
Okay, my batshit crazy goes back to one of me goods, and it's the Battle of Wolf 359. Now, considering how close technically Wolf 359 to Earth was, and everything, you cannot tell me that Starfleet did not get the families of the starships that were going to battle the Borg. There was really, would you have actually gone to intercept a Borg ship, knowing fine well it was going to be a really, really difficult battle, and still have the families on board?
Yeah,
That just to me is just batshit. They would have got them off on the shuttles. They would have evacuated everybody. Yes, on the kind of ship that the Saratoga was, it doesn't have like source of separation options and stuff like that.
no,
But
we're
I
only
know it was done.
glass.
For, I know it was done for story reasons to get Cisco into the position in life that he was. But it's batshit crazy that you can't. Yeah, there wouldn't have been families in the Battle of Wolf 359, really. Or am I just
No, I can unless they didn't realize how dangerous. I mean, it was just one cube, so how
But they
dangerous
knew,
could it be?
they knew with the Enterprise how dangerous it is. But yeah, it was a plot device.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so mine, I suppose, steps away a little bit from the pilot episode itself and more looking at DS9 and kind of the way. So I'm a bit torn about this one because I know it was something that came in sort of from the third season onwards, but it's something that the showrunners were fighting for from day one. Was how Deep Space Nine eventually ended up almost leading the way for binge watching
Yeah,
because this it predates streaming services completely, but you've got a real serialized storytelling. You've got cliffhangers. You've got lasting consequences. The character we've already mentioned, like the character arcs, some of those long-term sort of character developments that happened. The showrunners were fighting for all that right from day one,
yes.
um, and it worked. It was ahead of its time. In fact, it's
For
only really because of streaming services that Deep Space Nine has gained the popularity that it has.
yeah, and the funny thing is at the same time in television in the 80s, the only time that you had serialized television or network television and the big shows were the big high-end soaps like Dynasty, Dallas, Falcon Crest. They were the only ones who were allowed to be serialized
Mm,
because they were classed as a soap, even
yeah.
though they were big, high-end, expensive dramas. They were the only ones that they have a special exception because of what they are. But the rest of TV shows, no, you had to have everything as standalone. So, you know, it's because the way that a lot of the different states have different broadcasters and they would drop shows for football and drop shows for different events and things like that. So if you're missing out on episodes, if something's serialized, you're in the stuck.
Yeah. They would often play them out of sequence as well,
Yep.
episodes and things like that. Yes, there was a lot of issues around doing that. But yeah, there we go. What's your second?
My second thing is the bravery of discussing religion and Star Trek because it was always, I mean, Gene Roddenberry was always a humanist, and religion was always kept out of Star Trek, on all different things. There's very, very, very few mentions of it in there. But Deep Space Nine, they just smashed it, and they went, in a time in the early 90s where you're discussing the difference between, in the future, mankind isn't as interested in religion, but here you've got not exactly a backward country, a backward world, but and they're not condescended on their religion. They believe in the wormhole prophets, they believe in all this, but they're not talked down to. And to deal with something like this, in such a big franchise is was at the time was like, Batshit, you're really going there with it, and you actually got
Mm,
the force of the convictions to do between a very science-based future of mankind who are dealing with a race of people who their religion is so fundamental to their existence. Yet Starfleet understands that they're just aliens, but they don't condescend to them. There's no battle over you're right, we're right, you're right, they're right. Apart from when they get a little bit into that at the end of season one, but it's such it's batshit in the way that it's so brave to do it.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know,
absolutely. No arguments here on that one. Um, my second one is about the prophets themselves specifically. You've got these non-linear beings who don't understand time, which as a concept itself is pretty batshit crazy. Um, and the way that linear time has to be explained to them is through baseball.
yes.
Just think,
I was
you
like,
know.
I'm just going to cross off my number three because that was my number three, but I do have a number four, so you're fine.
Oh, right. Okay. Okay. But yeah, so just having a sports analogy, um, just for these gods, basically, these godlike beings. Just,
But it's also the sports analogy of a sport that hasn't been popular for hundreds of years
mm.
as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what would Cisco have talked about if he hadn't have been into baseball? Mm, that's a
So this concept of stamp collecting,
yeah.
you get the human condition looking for a penny black.
That's it. What's your fourth one then?
Right, well, my fourth one is how come in one episode with Armin Shimmerman you can actually redeem the whole Ferengi race? Because how the hell you did it? Because especially, you go back to the first time you get the Ferengis in season one of Next Generation and how batshit awful they were. And
Mm.
yes, there's been stuff through Next Generation, the odd episode where there's the change in the Ferengi a little bit, but stuff. But with Deep Space Nine, with Emissary and that, with Quark, my God, it's how did he manage to do it in such a short time? Change everybody's perception of the Ferengi.
I've got to throw this in as like sticking the geek hat well and firmly on. You cited the first time we ever meet the Ferengi. Armin
And it's
Shimmerman
him.
was
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yes, he
Was
was.
one of them. Yeah, absolutely. Well, they were going to be the big bad, of course, weren't they? Originally, the
But they screwed the
nucleon.
pooch.
They really did. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Armin is just again phenomenal actor. The casting, like you say, was just amazing. Um,
But how did he
and
manage
to
to
add
redeem them
through
in
all
one
that,
episode?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's about, I suppose, it's that relatability, isn't it? Making a character relatable, even if they're, not really supposed to be that relatable. They are. Everyone's got a bit of Ferengi in
Oh yeah, I
them.
mean he's bit with Kira at the end of the episode, where she's like, if you don't take your hand off my hip,
Yeah.
he's just like,
It's his little grin with it as well. Oh yeah, okay, you caught me. Not that we recommend
I
doing
condone
this,
such
but
things though.
no, no, we
And you
definitely
know
don't.
very well if you went anywhere near Kira, you wouldn't last 2 minutes.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So my third one is something we sort of alluded to a little bit earlier. Is Picard's role in this being so uncomfortable? We seen Picard through a very different lens, through as the aggressor, as the
Hmm.
The guy that caused this massive trauma and these, all these deaths. And that was just absolutely crazy to do that. It worked. It worked brilliantly to turn it on its head like that. Yeah, that's my third one.
There you go.
Speaking of Quark, Quark's one of my favorite characters. Something I present to the channel for the first time. So I was in London the other day. As regular viewers of the channel might notice, I did a short on for First Contact Day, wishing everyone a happy First Contact Day. While I was in London, I discovered a new Tubbs duck
Oh dear.
of Quark. They've brought out a new race. So I've got the first 16 of them. They're off. I might do a video about them one day. But they've introduced another four. So this is number 20. You can see there. A Quark one. Yeah, they brought out the Doctor, Benjamin Sisko, and Seven of Nine. And Quark. Quark's great.
One thing I was going to ask you, and this is one thing. It's about Major Kira, just since we
Mhm.
mentioned her with that scene there with Quark. Now, originally it was going to be Ensign Ro, Michelle Forbes,
Yes,
the
Ro
character,
Laren.
until fairly late on. Would you have preferred Ro Laren, or do you think history was right in the way that everything played out?
That is a fantastic question. Um, I honestly don't know. I think Michelle Forbes would have made the character different,
Massively, yeah.
but whether that would have been better or worse or just equally as good, just in a different way, without seeing it, it's impossible to say. I was
Isn't it?
very, very glad for Nana Visitor.
Yes. I think that the way her character developed and all her nuances. Yes, she came in all guns blazing, but that character's development over the 7 years
Mm,
was brilliant, as with all of them, you know.
yeah.
But I think that I prefer it with her. I'll stick my flag in the ground there with that.
I'm glad it turned out as it did. Um, Glad it turned out as it did. But it was great to see Michelle Forbes in Picard.
But all one episode.
Yeah. Still great to see it.
But you know what you've done now? You know,
What?
making me go back and watch the pilot again. It's like, oh, do I start going through the whole 7 seasons again? It's like, no, lots of other things to watch.
I'll tell you what I do. I'm one of these people that like has to have the TV on in the background as I'm doing things. So quite often I'll just like, yeah, call it up, let it run,
Oh, but if I,
dip in
especially
and out.
DS9, if I put it on, it gets me attention, and then it's like if I'm watching Battlestar Galactica, it's the next episode, it's the next episode, it's the next episode, it's the next episode. And last time I went through DS9 when I rewatched it, it was only maybe 2 years ago. I didn't skip a single episode, whereas with a lot of other treks, when I do watch the stuff through, I do tend to skip the odd one. But this I don't. I just go all the way through. Even move along home.
Even move along. What about if wishes were horses?
I'll cope with it. I will.
Rumpelstiltskin. How can we have gotten to the end of this video without mentioning the plain simple tailor, Garrick?
Because he's not in the first episode. He's
Uh,
not in the pilot. He doesn't turn up. He doesn't turn up till episode 2.
is it the episode 2 when he approaches the
Yeah,
chair?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
But we
of
love
course, yeah.
Garrick. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just uh he
I do.
he
This was
could
just amazing.
he could have just had a series of his own.
Still good. Still good.
But also
Fantastic. Right.
one thing we can add on though is to with Deep Space Nine as a final caveat, it does have our favorite episode of Star Trek of all time for both of us in it.
In the pale moonlight. Yeah. The title of which was taken from the Batman, 1980s Batman.
Yes, even though Ron Moore didn't actually realize it was from that, he thought it was a saying that had been around for years.
Yeah, yeah.
What's he like?
He just liked the sound of
He did. So DC are on top of him now. Give us some money.
it. Fantastic. Oh my goodness, we do get into the old deep dives here, don't we?
We do.
Brilliant. So, for more deep dives, interesting Trek trivia and facts and figures and all the rest of it, and more good, bad, and batshit choices, make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment below as well. Let us know if you agree with our choices, if you disagree, what you would have picked. We want to hear all of that. But for now, join us next time when we'll be, well, I guess I'll be wearing this again.
Yeah. Stick it in the wash.
There we go. Until then, peace and long life.
Live long and prosper, guys. Take care.